Hey everybody, it's Gus from Askewed Reviews. And today it's Saturday, so you know what that means. It's a new episode of Cinema Society Saturday. So if you don't know what that is by now, Cinema Society Saturday is a group of us horror talk creators that love to watch horror movies. So what we do is each week we are randomly given a theme. We then partner up, we give our partner a movie that fits within the theme, and then we review it. Now, this week was a little different though, as a lot of us were worried that TikTok was not actually going to be coming back. So, just in case, we didn't actually partner up because we weren't sure how many of us were going to be available for this. So, instead, each of us just decided to take a movie from the actual theme and just review it ourselves. So, the theme for this week was Anthology Horror Movies. And the movie that I gave myself for this week was Tales from the Darkside. That's right, I reviewed the 1990 film Tales from the Darkside, the movie. This was directed by John Harrison. So, Tales from the Darkside is a collection of four stories put together into this anthology movie. The writers for all four of the segments were Michael McDowell, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Stephen King, and George A. Romero. There were also quite a few well known faces in the main cast. For instance, you had Debbie Harry and Matthew Lawrence. There's Christian Slater, Steve Buscemi, Julianne Moore, and Robert Sedgwick, David Johansen, William Hickey, and even James Remar, Ray Don Chong, and Robert Klein. Now, for the actual stories in this one, you have a wraparound story, which is all about a witch that is trying to have a child over for dinner. Then we have one that's all about a mummy's curse. Next, we have a demon cat that's all out for revenge. And the last one is all about a gargoyle's secret. Now, if you weren't aware of this, Tales from the Dark Side the movie is based off of Tales from the Dark Side the television series. This was an anthology horror television series, just like Twilight Zone or Tales from the Crypt. So, when it comes to the actual stories in this film, I really do enjoy each of them. Now, some of them are better than others, but each one is enjoyable, and some of them have some pretty great effects and some great goriness to it as well. I remember watching this movie a bunch of times as I was growing up. And in fact, the funny thing is, the mummy story that's in this was the first time I ever truly found out about what happens to a mummy during the mummification process. I also really enjoyed the casting for this film. You might also recognize some of the other secondary characters that aren't as well known, but you recognize them from other films that they just pop up in. Additionally, I did mention near the beginning who the actual writers for this, but come on, that's a pretty stacked group where you have Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, you have Michael McDowell, you also, of course, have Stephen King and George A. Romero. So if you get a chance, I definitely do recommend checking this one out. I own a copy of it, and that's how I was able to watch it. But if you want to check it out for yourselves, it's currently streaming for free on Paramount Plus. So for me, on my scale, I'm going to give this movie a 4 out of 5. And of course, as per usual, if you haven't done so already, definitely keep an eye out for everyone else involved in the group's videos. You can look them up by checking out the hashtag Cinema Society Saturday.